Lieb.
Here.
Kevin Schmidt.
Here.
Okay, this meeting is in compliance with the open meeting law. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as submitted. And then approval of the minutes to the September 19 meeting, including the budget workshop. Get that motion?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Consideration of bills. Did you get a chance to look at the bills, and are there any comments or questions about them?
On the, Amber, what is the 2837 wastewater treatment fund? It says UV project debt interest. Is that just interest on the loan? that-
Yep. Yeah, we have a
So-
loan to the Department of Administration. It's the Clean Water Fund loan
Okay.
for, we did some upgrades to the UV lights down there for the treatment portion. And so you make a principal payment once a year and interest payments twice a year.
It's got 2017 that was referenced on there. How long of a term was that?
I think it was a 20-year term. I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure it was
So
a
it's
20-year.
lengthier, okay.
On the Marina credit card machine bill processing fee,
Mhm.
do we pass that on?
No.
Oh,
It's included in our fees that we charge. We do not charge an additional amount on top
Like
of.
the vendors do in the restaurants and stuff, where they
Yeah.
tack down 3%.
It's included in your pumping, like you do a pump out for $10 and you pay with the credit card, it's included.
Can we start adding the 3% like everybody else is doing?
Well, you can raise your price 3%.
Well, it's
and
just
you're covered.
easier, you put your sign up, you know, they know it's credit card is 3%.
I'm not sure how
Right.
that works and how
Every
to
other
do that.
business is doing it.
We do-
I agree, Kevin, and
Yeah,
everybody
yes.
is doing it. I thought, all the way back that it was illegal actually
I
to
thought so
do.
too, but
But more and more
Everybody's
people
doing
are
it.
doing it.
I had an oil change.
we
they
do
charge 3%
for our
the
gas.
card.
If
Yeah.
you pay your gas bill with check or cash, you get a 5 cent per gallon
Discount.
discount.
Well, a
So
lot of
we
them
are
saying
taking it off on the
a lot of
gas. That's our
vendors, if
biggest,
you pay with cash, you
yeah.
get one thing, if you pay with a card, you act on
Yeah.
3%. I did a little checking after we talked to him, it is legal in Wisconsin, which to me is fair, because, and the vendors say, well, we gotta pay the vendor, so.
Any other questions about the bills?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills as presented.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the bills. Is there a second? Okay, did you get the motion and the second?
Yep, motion by
Okay.
Wayne, second by John.
Could you do a roll call on that?
Meverden,
Yes.
Kevin Schmidt,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Ortlieb,
Yes.
Swedberg.
Yes.
Okay, that carries. Okay, next item is public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that
Point of
would
order.
like-
Yeah. Item
B, item B,
attendance.
conference attendance. We had to amend the agenda and I apologize for that, but Police Chief Allen for the new Chiefs Conference, that is 121 through the 26th down in Madison. This is something the DOJ puts on for new police chiefs. It is all picked up, the expenses from the DOJ, but for his travel down there and back and his time, which his time is paid obviously here or if he's there, so. I just look for a motion for accepting the police chief to be at that conference.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, do you want to do a roll call on that also?
We don't need to, but if you'd like one, we can.
No, if we don't need one, that's okay. Say, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. Okay, now we're on to public comment. Okay, is there anyone in the audience that'd like to address the council on any issue? Anyone in the council chambers? One more chance. Anybody have any public comment? If not, then we're moving on to the old business to talk about the 2024 budget.
Now, does anybody have any questions about the budget that reflects in changes to it?
have any changes they want to talk about right now?
Are we talking wages? Because you know my feeling on the 4%.
You can open up the conversation to whatever you'd like, Wayne.
Okay, I'm in favor of only a 4% increase. I would like to see all the hourly people get up across the board, and I'd like the salaries people to be evaluated. That's my personal opinion.
Didn't we already empower, I mean, like, I guess we changed that we empowered the administrator to allocate.
That's what you did, that can be changed,
Okay.
you can't, yeah, it can be changed at every budget. You can't lock a council in for further
No, 5, 4,
2.5 and 2.5.
yeah, 2.5, 2.5.
I feel a little differently than Wayne. I think 5%, when you have 12% inflation is not outrageous. And yes, we could save a little money there, but at the expense of employees, and I would not agree with doing that. I like the 5%. We kind of authorized our people to go to 5%. They have negotiated in good faith, and I don't want to turn it around now and say, well, no, particularly
That's your,
that's my opinion, yeah.
I'll tell you how we'll move this along. I'm gonna make a motion that we pay 4% straight across the board for all the hourly employees. And we also then take the rest of the pot and evaluate the salaried people.
Who would make that decision? Council?
We would make it on Matt, Matt would make it on the salaried people.
Don't we
We
do that right now?
we need to evaluate Matt. Matt can't evaluate
Obviously,
himself.
that's,
Right.
regardless, doesn't matter.
Right,
And that's what we have closed session for
right,
coming up.
right.
Yeah.
And the police chief that's locked in because of the hiring of this contract. So I'm making the motion for 4%.
So 4% for the hourly, rest of the pot evaluate for
Salary.
the salary personnel.
Does the administrator give us a recommendation, or does he just decide?
And that motion was made by Wayne.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
How does that affect your fire department personnel?
4%.
You get the 4%.
So we'd be considered hourly?
Well, you're
You
actually
get a
considered,
stipend?
I don't know if you're salaried,
They get a stipend. that's-
stipend. I mean, it's kind of like the cable people too, it's a stipend, right? And you looked at those individually, didn't you?
Mhm.
So you can decide what you want to do with the fire department. I'm talking full-time employees,
Hey,
hourly.
You have me confused, I'm sorry. So we're gonna evaluate all the full-time employees?
No, here's my point. We talked about this at the last meeting. I said, if you're gonna give 5%, 4%, and in the past you said you had a pot of money.
Yeah.
And you said, okay, I'm gonna look at the hourly person and I'm gonna basically give him whatever I feel he needs. My point that I brought up, if we have an individual that's not doing his job, it shouldn't come down to the budget time to say, well, I'm not gonna give you 5, Matt, I'm only gonna give you 3. You should have been dealt with throughout the year. See what my point is? So my point is that if you're gonna give 4 or 5, whatever, give the hourly straight across the board. But then when it comes to salaried people, you've got this, still got this pot of money, whatever the budget is, 4 or 5. And like you, for example, the council needs to evaluate you,
Yep,
right?
yep.
And that would base, okay, and I look at a salary, 5% on a larger salary is a lot more of an increase than 5% is on somebody that only makes, you know, $60,000 a year or $50,000. So my point is, I'm not, all I'm saying is my motion is to go with 4% straight across the board for hourly. And the salary people should be evaluated based with the rest of the money that's in the pot.
That money in the pot, is that going up 4% as well, or is that, and then divvied from there for
Right.
salary?
Right.
Okay.
So in other words, you take 4%, you increase the pot. Maybe I don't think Matt should get 4, maybe I should just as an example,
So?
maybe Matt should get 2. Well, there's enough in that pot, but it's not gonna exceed the 4, because that's what your total pot is.
Yeah.
Fire department, I don't know how you've done that in the past, same thing with stipends. You give the fire department 4% or 5%, it's such a little bit of an increase that it doesn't really amount to much. I'm talking the full-time, because when you look at the wages that I had run,
Yep.
a 4% increase, and you look at their wages and you look at their benefit package, you can say that we don't treat our employees very good, but when you look at this,
I didn't say that.
we treat
I
them
said I
damn
want to
good.
make sure that we always treat them
Yeah.
well. There's a difference.
So, that's where I'm basing my information off. And it's a motion, if it dies of a second, it dies for a second.
Do you have that motion captured?
Well, there's a lot of words here, but 4% increase to the pot of money for wages, number one.
Right.
So extending down from that, we would have 4% to the hourly, which I think we would also need to include, if I'm hearing it, we would include that to be for the fire and rescue department for their stipends and the cable department.
But it would only be the fire, correct? Because the rescue is a little different setup.
They're not getting anything at all in this budget,
Okay,
the way
so
it's set up.
including fire department and the cable department.
Correct.
Any salaried employee would be evaluated.
No. Yes, I
Yes,
apologize,
they'll be
yes, sorry.
evaluated.
Every salaried employee will be evaluated.
That's my motion.
Yeah.
Got
That's
it?
my motion.
That's your motion.
Okay. So,
Wayne Schmidt has made that motion. Now we are looking for a second to that motion.
Point of clarification before, if I could ask a question. Amber, this would probably be aimed at you, but I know we started with a proposed 6% increase, went down to a 5% increase. If there was a change to the wage via this motion, are we gonna have to go back and change anything on the budget?
I would leave the budget as is.
Yep.
Okay, whatever was left over, that additional 7,000 would go towards.
Fund
That's
balance.
correct.
Just wanna clarify that for sure.
no, it's not gonna change the levy. We're getting down to the point where how we, you know,
So is there a second to the motion?
Second.
And will you do a roll call on that?
Okay. Ortlieb,
No.
Kevin Schmidt,
Yes.
Swedberg,
No.
Boer,
No.
Marin,
No.
Wayne Schmidt,
yes,
Meverden,
No.
motion failed.
okay.
Next thing, is there a way to, like what we did with the police officers? Is there a way to do a 2.5 for the first and 2.5 for the second? Is that a feasible thing which would, I don't know, just a thought. So that is a possibility to do that, correct? If
Let's
it were
talk
so-
about the budget that we have in front of us, not about the closed session, okay?
That would be closed session, okay.
And we're negotiating a police contract in good faith with the police department in closed session. So let's talk about everybody else but that.
I guess you're looking for a formal motion to accept the budget as been presented?
That
Did that
would,
already.
No.
no,
we
you
do the
That'll,
levy.
we'll do a resolution at the November council meeting, because at that time then
No
we'll,
action?
yeah, you don't need to do action on the budget itself. At the November council meeting, you'll have a resolution that'll lay out the levy amount that was talked about during the public hearing. There will be a section on it for any delinquent weeds. So if the city had to go out and mow a lawn and they didn't pay their bill, then we add it to the tax roll, that goes on the resolution. Delinquent utilities goes on the resolution, and then your fund dollar amounts for the budget. So the full amount for general fund, the full amount for the marina fund, those will all be listed so that you have your total overall 2024 budget for the city. And that'll all be listed on there. And then you'll adopt that resolution and that sets your budget.
do nothing else with the budget of right now.
Well, unless there's any other commentary or changes that want to be presented, I would assume.
Does anyone else want to make any comments about the budget? Otherwise, we'll move on the agenda. Okay, then we'll move on to the new business items. The fee schedule is the first item, and everybody should have had a new fee schedule put on their desk.
So the fee schedule was emailed out to you guys earlier today. We've had our last department meeting with Parks and Rec being last night, and we went through the 2024 fee schedule and updated it. The updates are in red, so just to run down it real quick. On the administration side, the first page, the chicken license currently is, I believe it's $15. It might be like $5 per head. We would change it to $50 for the increase of the chicken licenses that we've been seeing, and the back end work that we have to do with it for that permit. The other was the short-term rental. We talked about that at all of our previous meetings about putting that permit in place, so that would be an annual fee for new and renewal. Does anybody have any questions on the administration side?
Yes.
John?
When you raise that chicken fee to $50, you'll kill every chicken in Algoma, because there's no sense in even having a chicken if you gotta pay $50. You're not gonna get enough eggs, you're not gonna get enough chicken meat. It just kills the whole issue. Is that what we wanna do? Or do we wanna leave it at something nominal, that people come in and register that they are raising chickens, and just allow it to be? Because I think $50 is pretty high for a chicken license.
When was that discussed? I was gonna ask. I mean,
It was in-
on top of that.
The permit, we briefly discussed it when we were going through the chickens and ducks ordinance about raising the permit fee.
I don't recall any specific dollars being talked about.
Because it was currently just $5 per head of chicken and or duck. But then it's to cover the cost of doing my time, or whoever's in this role, doing that permit.
I mean, and you're saying it, I mean, it reflects, because you have to do, there's the DAT cap
Yep.
consideration, there's
There's the DAC gap,
follow-up.
yeah, it's to cover, well, I mean, it's not gonna cover my time, but it's to cover my time essentially.
So
Right.
roughly you figured out the amount of hours or whatever. Half.
I mean, the research that it's the same thing with the short-term rental fee. I mean, I know we set it at 100, but what you have to do to do the back check on this,
And how many do we have roughly? A handful?
a handful, I would say less than 5. But I mean, that's up to you guys. If you wanna keep it at 15, keep it at 15.
So if no one's happy with 50, can we do 30?
Yeah,
Can do
whatever.
whatever you want.
Can
You
we
guys can do
split the
whatever you want.
difference?
Or if we did 20, that'd be a
Wanna
lot
make
for
a
a couple
comment
of
whether we
chickens.
should leave it where it
I-
is?
Not a
Yeah,
fan
that's
of
what I
raising
would
chickens
too.
in the city anyway.
Was it 50 a head or just 50?
Total, it's your license fee for the year.
50 ahead.
50 ahead.
That's.
50 ahead, and they
Talking like that,
got,
so
50 ahead, and they gotta brand them.
Raising turkeys.
How many chickens can I have?
And they lay golden eggs.
3.
Oh, only 3.
Round them up.
3.
It was 3? It was 6.
Okay.
It's 6, 4 or 6.
It's 6.
Yeah, it depends on what kind you have.
Right.
So it's costing me over $15
What do you think,
a year.
Casey?
Casey, you're a chicken owner, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm familiar with I think that, I think that if it's reflective of the time that needs to put in to do the work to have them, it makes sense to account for that. You know, but I mean, I understand your point. I can see a middle. I mean, if we're gonna do a compromise, 30 seems all right. I don't think that, I mean, 50, I mean, look at the price of eggs, right? I mean, you pay
They're going down.
Way down.
right.
$5.99 to $4.99.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing with fees, right? It is whether or not it's contingent on it's your time. So I mean, if it's $50,
Not going into my checkbook, so it doesn't matter.
right?
We can all live with 30 then? Good.
I could live with 30.
Okay, let's go to 30.
Everybody
$30.
else live with 30?
All right, so dropping that to 30. Short-term rental to 100. Does anybody have any other questions, comments, anything on the administration side?
On our liquor licenses for bars,
Can't
bars
touch
and
that.
grills.
That's
That
dictated
actually
by state
seems
statute.
pretty cheap.
Can't touch it, dictated by state. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Anything else on administration? All right, the next is building inspection. Our building inspector just asked that we add the words plumbing and HVAC each to the accessory structures portion of the fee schedule. Any questions on that?
How many hours a week is he here?
Hour and a half.
1.5.
That's it?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Moving on to the cemetery, those are kind of set by Wee's Memorials, right?
Well,
It
we
depends on
use
their
their
cost.
fee as a
Base.
base,
Yeah.
and then we add a fee, a portion on top of that for administration costs, because everything comes through our office, so.
And I haven't heard that they're changing their fees, so I would recommend we leave that alone until they decide, or if they decide to raise their fees. The next is the Harbor Marina, so this came up from the Public Works Committee, increasing the daily launch fee to $10 per launch. The resident senior pass going from free to $25. The sanitary pump out going from $10 to $20. The transient monthly going from $25 per foot to $30 per foot, and increasing it to a $600 minimum. The transient pump outs, also under that slip, is going to 20 to match the ones in the miscellaneous as well.
Quick question on the miscellaneous one, for the sanitary pump outs, Matt, is that strictly for the boats in the slips or the campers that are down on
Just the boats.
That's only the boats?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't have any campers. The city of Algoma, the campers is all from Smashed on the
Private-
Rocks or.
Private over there?
Yes, yep. I don't know what their structure is, but we don't pump out any of the campers. We
Are we actually doing the pump out or is that hired out?
have to have a guy there, turn the machine on, turn the machine off.
Whoever's
does
working at the
working
marina
at the
that day.
marina.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions on that one?
Nope.
Going to the Parks and Recreation, adding a Olson Park boat launch, $8 per launch
Seem,
for
I
the
mean,
boat
what you're gonna
launch.
get up there at Olson Park is you're gonna get small fishing boats and small motors, and you're gonna get kayaks and canoes. $8 seem a little much. I would think $3 for something small like that would be more appropriate, just my.
Then you're into printing new envelopes and everything else, so, John.
It only applies to boats, too. We
Yeah.
talked about it last
Yeah.
night.
And it only
Doesn't
applies
If
to
a kayaker
boats.
decides to put money in, I'm not gonna stop them from putting money in.
But we're not gonna hound them. If somebody wants to launch 5 kayaks, we're not gonna sit down there and tell them they can't unless they pay $8 for each kayak.
You also have to remember, we have the labor to put the docks in and out, the
The
repairs.
maintenance of the docks.
Eventually, that kayak launch is going to need parts replacement, same thing with the docks down there. Again, this isn't something that we have somebody, an attendant there that's watching.
It's on the honor
It's
system.
on
It
the
is.
honor, good faith.
There's not an employee down there watching it. There's not
Reusing.
going to be an employee down there
We're
watching it.
Using the old
We're
envelopes?
using the old
Yes.
envelope, yeah.
That's right, okay, that makes sense.
Any further discussion or comment on that? Nothing has changed in planning and development. Nothing has changed on the police side. Public Works. Street occupancy permit is going up from $25 to $35, and it will be a 7-day permit. Snow removal is $100 per employee, plus the admin fee. The admin fee was added down to the snow and ice removal side, carried from the column above. Noxious weeds, same thing, $100 plus the admin fee per employee. Admin fee was carried down. And then the brush and mulch pile annual permits were added as well. So $100 if you were a contractor and $25 if you were a non-resident to use the city's brush and mulch piles. And these were all recommended from the Public Works Committee. Does anybody have any questions on those? And one of the last pages is the rescue department. Amber, you had a 5% increase for cost of services for
Correct.
2024, so that's just built across the board. fire department, I know the current fee says $16 per hour, but I don't think it is that, what we bill out to the townships, right?
No,
It
it's,
increased it X amount per year per their contract, so 1966 is where it's currently at, since where that contract was.
The only thing that I would ask on there is, if you look on the bottom one where it's calling for phone cost, Class A or Class B, I would separate that out and put Class B at $300 per 5-gallon pail.
Does anybody have any comments or concerns or anything about adding that?
Is that just what, Class B?
Class B.
Just a Class B.
Class A is still 100?
Correct.
100 or 150?
150.
Yeah,
150.
150.
and that's just to reflect the cost of the Class B foam of what it's went to since they changed.
Yes.
Then I would, any other comments, questions, discussions on it? Then we would look for a motion to recommend this to council, and then we'll get a resolution in front of you to form, I mean, that's when you can do your roll call on it, is at that council meeting, but if we would need a motion to adopt this, or recommend adopting it.
Gus, on the fire department thing, the EV blanket, is that a one-use deal?
No, multi-use.
You can use it, all right. I was gonna say if that was only a one-use deal, we probably should have a line item there for that bad boy too.
Yeah.
Okay.
They say you can use it up to 30 times.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve and run it up the food chain, proposed fee schedule to council for adoption.
Second?
You want to do a roll call on that?
If you'd like, it
Okay,
doesn't
do it.
matter.
Do a roll call.
Ortlieb,
Yes.
Fluor,
Yes.
Mehring,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
Yes.
Swedberg,
Yes.
Meverden,
Yes.
Kevin Schmidt.
Yes.
Okay, we're moving on to the EMS billing contract review.
So this went before the PPP, this has been in front of our legal. I'm gonna let, actually Aaron has worked probably with Rory 99% of the time on this, but this started with our, I'll let you explain it, how we ended up where we are today.
So the current EMS billing that we use for anybody who had a rescue squad call, whether you got transported or not, was Three Rivers Billing Incorporated. They were bought out by EMS Management and Consultants, Inc. So this transition has been fairly seamless, but we thought it best to put a contract together. They put a contract together so that way everybody's on the same page. This is the same contract as we had with Three Rivers Billing. It has a little more teeth in it, but at the end of the day, we're back to the, I believe, 7% is what we get. You know, off the top of your, 7%? Yeah, so they get paid based off of any monies they collect. And they get 7% of that, the rest of it comes back to the city. So versus paying a flat fee every year or every month for them to perform the billing, the medical billing services, they're keeping 7% of whatever they collect. So that puts the collections work on them, whether it's the straight collections of somebody paying their bill monthly or paying it all together, or it coming from insurance, or them sending somebody to collections, they are doing that work. Like Matt had alluded to, legal had looked at this. He had a couple of changes, which were just some state things, state of Wisconsin versus North Carolina, where I believe they're, North or South Carolina, where I believe they're based out of. But that's it. Does anybody, yep.
Do you happen to know, because of the changeover, any billing that was not done by the prior company? Is this company then working with that, or
Yep.
is that something that we're not gonna be able to collect?
Nope, as of today, first of all, there were some things that happened at Three Rivers Billing that, caused a little bit of pause in services, some personal family matters. EMS Management and Consultants swooped in. They are working diligently to get them caught up in the billing as far as like the runs that have occurred since that occurred to this. I believe they're down to 50. Rory checked his queue this morning. He thought maybe they were already caught up as of today. But anything that was done previously, as in like the collections that were out there, anything that said to Three Rivers, they are taking over. That's part of them buying this company.
Because I had an individual call me, and they've had an incident that's going on 2 years, and they never even got a bill.
We're having people come into
Yep.
City Hall here,
And
the same issues.
this
Okay.
EMS MC is who we refer to them as, but we send those type of things that they get to them and to the contact that we still have from Three Rivers, and they come back and say, yes, this is legit, or no, this isn't an issue. So we've been working with Rory on that as well, like, hey, Rory, was this actually a call? Did this actually go that way? So Rory does his legwork on it. Three Rivers, or now this EMS MC, does their legwork on it, and then they come back to us and say, yes, this is actually legit, or nope, clear that one from the books.
Okay, thank you.
So we would be looking for a motion to recommend recommend entering into a contract with them,
So
and moving that to council.
So moved.
Second.
Go. Give it to John.
We can just do all in favor?
Sure.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion is approved. Okay, then the fire and rescue agreement with the townships.
Yes, so another contract, but this is with the towns that the city of Algoma has with the town of Lincoln, the town of Anape, and the town of, half of the town of Lincoln, half of the town of Anape, and the whole town of Anape, half of Lincoln, half of Pierce. We entered into a contract with them on the ambulance side of things to capture all of our costs. This contract used to be per hour, the way we billed. Now we actually get even with them at the end of the year. So we absorb all of our expenses, wages, everything throughout the whole year of 2023. At the end of, when our books are audited, then we split per population our expenses on the fire side and on the EMS side. The fire side of it is tomorrow, all three of the townships are meeting on the contract. Myself and the fire chief have been working for about 1.5 years now with the towns to come up with something that was fair to everybody, what we thought, and we would be able to capture some more of our expenses that we weren't able to capture in the past per our last contracts. So, if anybody has any questions about them,
I guess next year you'll tell us what the amounts are then.
it'll actually be later than next year because we won't physically send them a bill till after our audit is done. When our audit is done, then the numbers will all be looked at. Then we will send the three towns their portion of their bill on population value.
All right.
So,
What-
so
what I-
rescue is for all of 2023.
Yes,
Fire will not start until 2024.
What I've
that
got
is
is,
correct.
what I've got is a fire service agreement that specifically calls out the town of Anape and the 50%.
I didn't, they're all
I
the
didn't-
same.
They're all
I
the
didn't
same
attach all
except
of them
for
for you.
that clause, is that the
Yes.
deal? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't, it was just gonna be 2 more sets of paper for the
Okay.
other 2 towns.
Okay.
It's a 3-year contract,
It
right?
is a 3-year contract,
But it has a clause 3% annual increase.
that is correct.
And you're happy with it?
I'm happy with it. I mean, it's like any contract, you always want a little more, but
It's a fair and equitable contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kudos to you guys for working on it for the better part of a year, year and a half. I think it'll help the city ultimately in the end, and everybody's paying their fair share. So I'll make a formal motion to move forward with, you want them both for the ambulance and the fire?
yeah, you can do both.
Yeah, for both of them, move forward and for approval.
Second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the fire rescue service agreement is approved. Okay, then a squad purchase.
This was brought to the PPP. It sounds a little weird of why are we buying a squad car when we have a squad car ordered, paid for, or not paid for, but the reason behind this is we're gonna get a squad car, hopefully in the next month or 2, and our next squad car is due for replacement because as long as it took for us to get this squad car, okay? Talking with the police chief, we would order another Dodge Durango that everybody has before them today, in front of them today. And when that squad car would come in, at the time it would come in, it might be in 6 months, it might be in a year and a half, it might be in 2 years before we get it, okay? From when we order it. The last one, we found out it was canceled, we tried ordering another one, that didn't work out, and 2.5 years later, we're hopefully here gonna have this squad car delivered.
But we do have the Durango, it's
We
just
do,
getting outfitted.
it's at Belco
It's
getting,
getting
yes,
outfitted.
we know it's coming, okay? So at that time, when this one would come in, at that time, this really would be replacing the last Charger and the Ford Explorer, and we would go back down to 3 squads in the city.
And they'd all be
But-
Durangos.
And they would all be Durangos. So the black Durango that we currently have today would become a usable unmarked police car, and then we would have 2 Durangos that would be marked squads.
So, aren't we keeping one of those Chargers for him to run back and forth with as his tool?
We can, if we so choose to keep one, or it could be a Charger, it could be the Ford Explorer.
Or the Ford Explorer?
Whatever one, or we could get rid of, right now, there's a Charger scheduled to get rid of. That's stripped out
Right.
completely.
That one that we've been running back and
Yep,
forth
it's
with.
parked out, Belco has it all stripped down, whatever we could take out of it is getting put into this new Durango that's sitting down at Belco getting outfitted right now.
And that one's not done yet.
That one is not done yet because all of the parts were for a Ford Explorer.
Right.
Now, we're waiting for Belco to get the parts for a Dodge Durango to install them, and Belco has a policy that until 100% of everything that needs to be outfitted is in their hands, then they will start the vehicle.
So when that one comes back, you'll have 4 squads.
We will have 2 Dodge Durangos,
Durangos,
a Ford Explorer,
and a-
and one more Charger.
And what's he using to go back and forth home?
He's using the unmarked Durango right now.
He is.
Yes.
So we could actually designate that other Charger or that other Ford for him to use back and forth. I'm just looking at the miles. I don't know how many miles he puts on going back and forth every day. So does that, he use that? for his-
Miles are a really tough thing. Looking at police cars and fire trucks, miles are really hard to
Well,
look
fire
at to
trucks,
say.
it's not the miles, it's the engine hours.
And the same thing with squad cars in the city limits, starting, stopping, idle time, a lot of idle time, a lot of starting, stopping, a lot of turning.
Cause
So-
you can't shut them off, cause then all your equipment dies, you
Yeah.
gotta keep it on.
Yeah.
And Durango's still the cheapest right now to buy, right?
Durango is still the cheapest to buy what we can get right now today.
It also gives you uniformity across the
So you don't even know if you're gonna get a 24, you could be getting a 25.
25, yeah, yes.
We could be getting a 26, right?
When we discussed this.
It's such a market right now. I would like to say if we authorize this, that we probably won't see this newest one for a year. And it could be 18 months or better. So I would be very surprised if this vehicle would show up in 6 months.
So these prices that Belco's got here,
If we,
15, does that lock in?
we would lock in, then we would be locked into that price.
That
Now,
15,273?
here again, I'm gonna tell you that, on the ambulance, we were locked in. They came back after the fact and held us to an extra,
Just shy of $6,000, because they couldn't get a 22 chassis, so they had to give us a 23.
so they came back with the upcharge.
But that was on the chassis.
That was on the chassis. Yeah.
This, what I'm looking at is the Belco. That's the outfitting of the squad.
Belco is willing to order everything
Now,
now,
and hope
They-
it fits.
as long as they order for a or for a, I apologize, a
You
Durango.
never know. Okay. There's 2 separate items here. One is to authorize ordering a squad.
That is correct. One is the stuff to outfit the squad.
Make a motion, we go ahead and order that squad, get the stuff from Belco locked into this.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
I wonder, should we say not a 24, because we might get a 24?
Yeah, I think we learned that lesson with the last time we tried to purchase, that,
Yeah, we should just.
and this'll come before you again at the council in the form of a resolution. We will put
In the resolution,
to order a
Yeah.
To allow the
vehicle
Vehicle.
To
in
allow
the
the-
amount of,
Yeah, let's do that.
to allow the chief to purchase a vehicle, a Dodge Durango.
That's my motion.
You have a motion and a second to do this?
motion made by Kevin and a
Kevin.
second by Scott,
Mhm.
and you said all in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion is approved. Okay, the Olson Park plans.
All right, so the Olson Park concept plan is in front of you all. This came up from the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting last night. This is the concept plan that they are looking to do a redesign at Olson Park. Currently, it's pretty much a flat parking lot with a couple areas for fishing and a archery range. So you can see the design in front of you adds a few more things. There's a lot of things added, I guess. Parking spaces, a fishing pier. It's more of a park. It's more aesthetically pleasing. What the LNRP and Stantec need is the okay from the city council, so the motion to approve it, so they can go look for additional funding to make this come to life.
Do we have any, I mean, it looks all great and grand and wonderful, but any preliminary numbers on what this
I
would
do not.
cost? Kevin, or?
We don't have any money yet, so first we gotta get the plan figured out. That's it.
So before they can go
What we're
find-
looking
We
for,
need a plan.
okay,
Does
is
this
to
look
adopt
okay?
this,
Yeah.
is this what everybody agrees with? This went through a public meeting, through the parks had some changes. Then it went to the public meeting to move forward, now we're looking for the council adoption to now put a number on it. To say, this is what we want Olson Park to look like.
I forgot, what are we doing with the archery range?
It's
It's
moved
just
over.
moved over.
Got it over in like,
Oh,
You can find it on here,
I
Kevin.
got it.
Okay.
Yeah, this was
Just
the
because
best
we
plan that
approve
came
this
up.
doesn't mean that we're expending
This-
monies on
this
this. It
doesn't
allows
happen,
them to
correct.
go look for additional monies or monies to spend on it.
For grant funding or fund.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Oh,
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that carries. Okay, then we're on to the garbage and recycling bins.
There isn't it? So this was started at Public Works and changing now our garbage service starting January 1st and going garbage away from GFL. What is Public Works vetted this and looked to move to a residential service, okay? Right now, we have kind of services all over the board in the city. We have some people at businesses that have garbage, some have just recycling, some have both. What are the wishes to just go to a residential garbage pickup? Or leave it the way it currently is?
I think you better explain that that contract that we just signed with Going Garbage is based on residential.
Residential
only.
numbers. It doesn't count businesses.
If you start incorporating businesses, that fee's gonna change.
Oh, you mean
It's gonna go up.
The other thing is with the businesses, so some businesses downtown have, and not even downtown, some businesses in the city have, like Matt alluded to, a garbage bin or a recycling bin, or they have both that are picked up by GFL. If you would now start to include businesses, what is that going to do to the dollar amount of this contract to now include some of your other businesses, some of your manufacturing places that maybe could get a garbage and recycling bin and cut the container that they pay for down to a smaller size? Where do you kind of draw a line? Another key factor in this is the garbage and recycling grant the recycling grant that the city gets through the DNR every year. That's DNR grant is very specific to residential. It is not based off of business recycling tonnage.
So the
Did I say that
residential
right,
apartments
Amber?
are okay,
Yep.
like on Division Street?
So on the Division Street, where you have like your
Yeah,
residence,
it's like
as long
four.
as, where you have your apartments and the business underneath, as long as there's a residence up above, and that place is 4 units or less, they would still qualify for this resident, or for the recycling grant. We would
Oh,
still
4
comply
units.
with the grant.
Yep.
As long as they're 4 units or less. You know, there's talk about cleaning up Steel Street and wanting to reduce the number of bins that you see when you drive down Steel Street. If you start going from 4 units to 3 units, how is that gonna affect your places like Bell Harbor, Summit Beach? And I think Summit Beach might have their own garbage and recycling, but I know Bell Harbor, we had to order bins for there because they're 4 residential units.
I think if you look at the minutes from Public Works is recommending to the council that we form a ordinance basically based on residential to follow the recycling grant.
That is
Correct.
correct.
How many, I'm assuming the reason that this is coming up is because we've got a couple of businesses per se that have residential bins. Who's gonna be affected here? How many are we talking about?
We could be talking about 20, we could be talking about 50. That's the other factor, is they might have a contract with GFL currently to come pick them up. We don't know, we just see the bins. But we also can't give GFL the order, pick up every bin in the city of Algoma that you do on your pickup, because we don't know what contracts or subscriptions they have with other businesses.
They might have a outside our contract with them, a residential, they might have an agreement contract with them individually.
I would agree with that, but I guess you're gonna have to be prepared to have the contact information for if and when we get the phone calls saying, what the heck, where's my garbage bin?
Well, and that's why we're kind of really trying to get on this, have good discussion
Out in
about it
front of it?
Yeah.
and push it forward, because we do wanna give, if some of those businesses who have the bins and who are included aren't in this, if they are kind of included in that, we wanna give them more than a week's notice when we come to pick up those bins that, hey, you're not getting new bins. Well, that's not fair to have them scramble and now all of a sudden they gotta go find new bins. So we have been working with Andrew Gantman, am I
Yep.
saying that right? At Going Garbage and Recycling to put something together with him that, you know,
To help identify?
and I know he
Okay.
was here today, I don't know if you were able to touch base
I
with
did
him
not.
at all.
I know he
But I
was
know
here.
he was coming to town to kind of watch the garbage and recycling collection, so he could get a better scope on it as
Yeah.
well.
So we're gonna have to turn in our bids now for different ones.
Your bins,
Yeah.
at that point, when this happens, there will be new bins put out by our new provider and the old ones will be picked up. So their last garbage pickup in December, they will have, your bins will be emptied and then picked up, and you probably will already have your new ones. So there might be a week or two where you have 4 bins instead of 2.
And that being said, we'd like to get a mailer out to
And
the residents, to everybody, as
let
soon
them
as
know this is
possible,
all
making
coming
them
down the
aware.
pipeline.
So I gotta make sure I put it out the last time.
And
Well, put something in with the taxes too to remind everybody.
Yeah, it'll go in with the taxes, but if we can get something out, you know, before November 1st, that gives some of these other places a solid month to try and find somebody else. And we'll also have Going Garbage, because Andrew seemed very receptive to, hey, call us, these are our rates, this is what we offer.
I think we talked about in our meeting too, that to work with the chamber, that they can get the word out to these businesses that this is gonna be a residential
Right.
pickup, and because they.
We
do-
just wanna see how many
Yeah.
businesses are affected, first of all,
So do you need a motion to move forward with the recommendation from
to
Public
create an
Works?
ordinance.
Ordinance.
Yeah.
Then I'll make the formal motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. Okay, the 2023 budget amendment.
Yeah. So, we've been talking about all throughout the year, our CDs, investment earnings are through the roof. They are nice and healthy. We are adding about $116,000 to the estimated budget, so a total interest earnings of around $186,000 for the general CDs. There were a couple other small revenue changes. We got a workers' comp rebate back this year. The state adjusted our, it's called a modification factor that determines what your premiums are gonna be. They actually lowered them for the last 2 years. So our insurance company gave us a rebate of $10,817. We also got a rebate from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. We've talked about this in prior budgets. We don't budget for it because we don't know if we're gonna get that rebate or not. It depends on everybody's claims for the year. So we did get it this year. So we just adjusted some of those small budget revenues. And then on the expenditure side, we moved as much money over to capital as possible. We are moving $150,979 out of this year's budget over to capital. So again, that's just extending out how long before you have to borrow. If you look at your budget packets for the 2024 budget, the beginning fund balance for $450 does include this amendment. This amendment also keeps us in compliance with that expenditure restraint program, so we don't lose the payment this year. Couple other little changes to highlight. The CDBG revolving loan fund. So this is those monies for home improvements that people can apply for. It's a 0% interest loan. We had one of the loans get paid back this year. It was $15,891. So we're just going to add that to fund balance until such time as somebody applies to use those funds. The debt fund. This was created by our auditors as part of the closeout of the Med Center. So we just want to make sure that we account for that in this year's budget. We do have to make payments out of there. There was just a little bit of money transferred in or used from the ER&R fund for, I think that was for new computers here at City Hall. And we did not have that allocated for, so we're moving it from the 400 equipment into the capital. The TID funds, TID number 3. If you might recall, we just recently awarded a contract to do some additional storm work and lift station repairs in the vicinity of the Summit Beach condos. That is TID number 3. So because that was not originally part of the budget, we have to include that in this budget amendment. That will be repaid with the tax TID revenues, the increment revenues that come in the future years. And then work has begun on TID 4. So we are creating TID 4 fund and putting in an estimate for professional services. I'm not sure where that's going to come in for this year. I know there's a little bit of work that's been done already. It's probably going to pick up pretty heavy next year. So, and then capital projects. There were quite a few changes in the capital projects. On the revenue side, we're accounting for that transfer in. And then the closed grant funds and the CDBG public facilities grant money that helped pay for the project down across from Denny's. They gave their last payment to us in January or February, somewhere in there. So we're just accounting for it in our books. On the expense side, we have the dredging amount for the marina is increased, but we decreased the dock replacement down to the actual cost. There are some other things in here. We had a little bit of equipment out in the street department that was purchased this year, and that's all been authorized by council already. And then we got some outstanding bills from the 2020, 2021, and 2022 street utility combo projects. Those were engineering invoices, and correct me if I'm wrong, man, I believe that was for like as-built drawings
That is
and
correct.
like final things from those. So just some cleanup there. And then to offset some of these increases, the amount that was budgeted for the library outlay has been taken out. In talking with Kathy, she thought that if they did do any of that work, that the Friends would come forward with that funding. Any questions?
Like a motion and a second?
Yes, we'd be looking for a motion.
Okay.
A motion to recommend amending the 2023 budget to council.
Okay.
Make a motion to move forward with the amended budget as proposed.
Is there a second?
Consideration.
Is there a second?
Also,
Okay, do you need a motion, do you want a roll call on that one? If it's-
Sure.
Okay.
Kevin
Oh.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Mehring,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
Yes.
Meverden,
Yes.
Worth,
Yes.
Ortlieb,
yes,
Swedberg,
Yes.
that passes.
Okay. That passes, okay. Agenda items for the next meeting, if you could get those to either Matt or Aaron so we can get it on. Our next meeting will be November 21st at 4 PM here at City Hall. And the next thing is the motion to go into closed session.
Make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to statute 1985-1C concerning employment, promotion, compensation, or performance violation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Considering administration and police department employees.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, you need a roll call on this one? Okay. a roll call.
Swedberg,
Yes.
Mehring,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
Yes.
Worth,
Yes.
Ortlieb,
yes.
Kevin Schmidt,
Yes.
Meverden,
Yes.